Welcome back to the Chosen Life podcast. Not professional wrestling. Don't be alarmed, people. He is back by popular demand from the Careless Dynasty. Goldie. No, wait a minute. No, it's Mason Rush. Mason, welcome.
That's better. I never want to hear that name again, ever again. This is purely chosen life today. Let's leave the careless losers out of this one.
Well, this podcast is all about people who live the chosen life or want to live the chosen life. Goldie can only dream of a fraction of the life that we live. Let's be honest.
Yeah, you can't be in the chosen crew and the careless dynasty at the same time. It just doesn't work.
I'd rather be chosen than careless.
Amen.
Buddy, people have been asking for you. They're like, where's Mason Rush? We know he's been training, saying his prayers, eating his vitamins, wrestling up a storm. Buddy, we missed you. What's been going on in the world of wrestling for you?
It's been a busy one. It's been a busy spring, busy summer. Got to wrestle on some new promotions. Did some Chaos Pro shows, some United shows, and it's been a busy summer. Lots of wrestling, lots of action, lots of training, lots of ring crew setting up for other promotions, setting up a new gym for Mason to train in and for all his clients to train in. It's been pretty busy, but can't complain. Glad to be back.
Well, let's talk about that for a second because we are sporting the merch, right?
Got it.
So this is the third incarnation of VSC, right?
Yeah, 3.0, just like something else in here that's 3.0.
That's right. The Bible 3.0. We're following the commandments.
That's
so, gotta tell you, man, this is the body that VSC built, and I'm loving my life over there. Tell us all about the new gym, the new digs.
Yeah. So we've been doing it since 2010, roughly. John and I, my partner, business partner. And we moved locations 2 months ago from one part of Concord to another part, which is kind of where in the Vaughan Mills area, Bass Pro Mills Drive and Jane. Smaller location, but I think it has a lot more character. I enjoy going there more. It's a nicer drive. We got some fresh people, new members, fresh vibes. And I have to say, I'm enjoying it. It took a long time to get ready and to build and to do, but it's going, and I'm happy. I'm happy about it. VSC Fitness is up and running, and you want to look like the chosen lawyer or Mason Rush or any other people we work with, you stop by.
So true story. I'm at a barbecue yesterday, okay?
Okay.
Outside in the barbecue, nice gentleman comes up to me, former model. He was a model back in the day in department stores, catalogs.
Okay.
Like, this guy ran the walkway. And so comes up to me and says to me, hey, Jonathan, I got to tell you something. I'm like, hey, what's up? He's like, man, you're looking good. Whatever you're doing is working. And I look at him and I said, it takes a lot of hard work to get to this, And he's like, no, you don't understand. It's really, really working. So I got to tell you, man, it's an honor to wear the shirt, to be part of the VSC family. And, whether it's at a barbecue or on a Zoom call, when one can see one's reflection and say, man, yeah, I'm looking my best, it's a great freaking feeling.
Yeah, I would second that as well. I train pretty hard. I work out hard. And anytime I do a show or I wrestle or I compete or do anything and people, appreciate a physique or an athletic looking body, it's nice. And that comes with working your ass off in the gym, out of the gym, in the kitchen, right? Like eating well. There's so much that goes into it that, people who are into the gym for a month here, a month there, dieting for a month here, a month there, yo-yo, diet off the diet. The ones who stay consistent, the ones who succeed, and that's what we do at VSC Fitness.
Well, I was telling you, man, when we're sitting over at Hamilton Pro Wrestling and talking to the crowd, talking to some of the crew over there, and people come up to me, they're like, hey, the body guy, right? Everybody knows you as the body guy. There's one thing to be known as. The body guy is not too bad.
Yeah, no, that's how it's developed. I think as HPW progresses, as newer wrestlers get more into fitness, there'll be other body guys at HPW as well. I've opened the floor many times to all wrestlers, HPW and abroad, to come train with me at VSC Fitness. And guess how many people have taken me up on that offer that tell me how jacked they want to be? Guess how many? Yeah, 0. So
I don't understand it.
there's your answer, right? Oh, Mason, we want to wrestle like you, want to be strong. Awesome. Meet me here and I'll help you. And no one shows, right? So part of me is like, yeah, no, everybody would be, they'd get more bookings. They'd get more bookings in the States, all abroad, if they were in better shape. And nobody wants to actually work. They want to wrestle. They want to train, do seminars, which is amazing. But go look at the people at the top and see what they look like, right? Very different than a lot of what I see. But hey, you can only take a horse to water.
What's the bet that we go up to a typical person that has come to you and said, listen, I want to improve my wrestling, I want to improve my physique, I want to do what you're doing. What's the bet that if we went and listened to the excuses of why they haven't started yet, we pull up the Bible 3.0, look at the commandments on the gym factor, and talk about for fitness, those 10 top 10 excuses why people aren't going, what's the bet they're going to correlate? Because, man, people love making excuses and procrastinating.
Top excuse. Oh, if it was closer. I have three pro wrestling training facilities way closer to me. I drive an hour and a half to HPW because I want to, because it's worth it, right? That's the value I get. If people want to get in shape, lift weights, learn how to train, drive to VSC Fitness, right? Vaughan Mills, it's right off the highway. But again, wrestling it's a lot more fun than squatting 5x5s, volume lifting, volume deadlifts, repetitive bench press, repetitive accessories, right? That's not sexy. People don't want to do it. But that's the secret sauce that people don't realize.
And sitting here in October now, how many people are saying, I'm going to wait till January? I'm too busy right now. I got other things going on in my life. Like, again, the excuses.
Yeah, some. Others will just say, I don't like to work out, right? And think that 2 or 3 days of wrestling training is your wrestling, your gym, your fitness, your diet, and you can go and do whatever you want elsewhere. But that's not the case. And again, great wrestlers are a dime a dozen. Chain wrestling, big moves, big splashes, big things you see, dime a dozen. You know what's not a dime a dozen? Training hard, working out, lifting, sleeping, recovering, right? Sacrifice. That's the hard part. And I guarantee you, if you look at the people at the top of the race, let's say AEW, WWE, TNA, they all have rigorous training regimens, right? That's the difference. But listen, nobody wants to do it. Not much they can do.
Did you catch the interview not long ago with Van Vliet and Ethan Page? So he was on there talking about why he left AEW and went to WWE NXT. And I'm telling you, Mason, you go look at Ethan Page AEW versus Ethan Page NXT. It is very evident he's putting time in the gym now, rigorous amount of time. Yep. Became the champ seemingly overnight. And the one thing he said was, in AEW, look, I had to beg people to practice with me.
Yep.
In NXT, it's mandatory.
Yeah, it's a totally different product. I mean, the only way you're going to be an overweight, out-of-shape wrestler is if that's your gimmick. Otherwise, you better be in the gym. You better be eating. And again, sleeping, right? Like, it's not necessarily a badge of honor to pull 3 or 4 all-nighters because, you wrestled and you have to drive 12 hours and you get up the next day. That's just going to lead to injury. It's going to lead to things that you don't want to happen to your body, right? Like, at 22, very different than what you can get away with at 32 or 40, right? People seem to think that because they can get away with it in their early 20s, that's a routine that they're going to be able to carry through their whole career, which it's not, right? You're going to fizzle out and you're not going to get the bookings you want.
Look, I knew Mason Rush is coming on today. For me, preparing for this interview, I wake up 5:30 in the morning, got my 7-8 hours of sleep, went to temple for an hour, then went to yoga for 2 hours, got myself in the zone and ready. That's a very different person versus crawling out of bed after 3 hours of sleep, disheveled, and kind of flying by the seat of my pants.
And you see it. I see it on game day. I see it I'll walk up, and again, it doesn't have to be any federation, but I walk in and people are eating pizza, people are eating subs. They're, like they'll roll for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, warm up, and then walk to the convenience store and get a sub and an energy drink. Like, again, to each their own, but I'm the one who gets made fun of because I walk in with my Yeti cooler with chicken sandwiches, peanut butter and jam, fruits, drinks, smoothies to get me through that whole show, right? I'm the only one who does that. I'm also the only one who people seem to think looks half decent with their clothes off in their wrestling tights, right? So, you know what I mean? You can't have it both ways, right? You can't show up not prepared, not giving any, pardon my language, any shits about your diet. Then you also can't be upset when you don't perform, you don't look, and you don't, act the way you want.
So when the dream came up, when Mason Rush, the wrestler, was a manifestation to where you are today, how long has it now the process been? Like from the time you started, how long have now you been in the game for?
Over 2 years.
It's crazy.
Right? It's been 2 years, yeah. So it was a year. Again, that's another thing, right? Is I wanted it so bad that I rearranged my work schedule, right? I made it, my business partner knew, he knew what I wanted to do. And I made sure that I had 1 to 2 days a week to drive to Hamilton on my own dollar, on my own time, to train one-on-one with Rip Impact so that I could achieve the goals I had set for myself, right? I know I can work out in the gym. I know I can plan my diet. I know I can plan to be there at a certain time and be early and stay late, all those things. But when people say they can't drive 40 minutes to come do a training session with me in the gym and learn how to work out, and I go, I drove once or twice a week for an hour and a half for an hour session to drive home on the Gardner traffic 2 hours just because it was worth it for me to learn how to wrestle, right? So it was a year and a half of doing that every week, there and back, to then start doing shows. And I still go wrestle on Saturdays every week that I can, right? That for me, the training should never stop, right? It shouldn't just be new up and comers who want to be wrestlers. Everyone should be training. Training should never stop, no matter how good you are, right? I say to people, "Oh, you training on Saturday?" No, I do shows every Saturday. I get booked. Okay, fine. My 90-minute intense session in the ring with great up-and-coming wrestlers, back and forth, running through matches, running through drills, I'll take that over your 5 minutes of wherever you're wrestling any day of the week. Training makes you better. Unless you're in the WWE, which they still train, training makes you better. Doing a 5-minute fun match, sure, it boosts your ego, but that doesn't make you a better wrestler, which is why Mason Rush has come so far in a year and a half, where other guys do this for 10 years and don't get to where I'm at right now.
Name me any sport right now. Anything.
Hockey.
Okay. Hockey. Good one. So,
we're in Canada.
Pick any of your favorite NHL teams, and on game day, the game before, go down to the hockey arena around 7 in the morning, 7:30 in the morning. You know what they're doing, right? They're practicing.
They're getting ready.
They're getting ready. And so they're getting ready on the ice. They're hitting the weight room. And a bunch of them, they're doing that as far as weights and as far as yoga and fitness, whatever, before the game. Some of them jump on the bikes after the game. They just played a whole 3 periods, and they still jump on some bikes. Think of, for example, when you were telling me as far as this idea of I play and I participate and that's just enough. Imagine in tennis. Imagine Nadal, Federer. I don't need a coach. I don't need to practice. I'm booked for all these tournaments, and you only play the tournaments and you never practice. You ain't winning squat without practice, training, and fitness.
Yeah, I don't care how good you are. Training is what makes you better, right? Like that is what the definition of the word is, right? You're training for the game, for the match. So for me, whether it's just working on endurance, working on my body being able to take a beating, repetitions, whatever it is, I live for those training sessions, right? It's my time to get better. It's my time to work on things. You can't work on things in a match, right? That's when all the things you work on you use them. But in a match, you're worried about beating your opponent. It's not a time to train, right? So when people say that to me, oh, I don't go to the gym, I'm already a wrestler. Oh, I don't need to go to training and with the session with the guys because I'm booked every weekend. I'm the man. It's like, okay, no problem. You don't wrestle on TV. You wrestle in front of 26 people in a town no one cares about. And if that's the end all be all, that's your ceiling, awesome, right? But a lot of guys that I know that I wrestle with, they want something for themselves. They want to make it. They want to make a living out of this. They want to compete more than the ego, right? It's about achieving a goal, right? And those are the ones I see training and learning and never stopping the process.
Well, I got to ask you, Mason, because I actually have a very proud announcement to come up here since we're talking about this and we're feeling the love.
Uh-oh.
You and I, when we first started training together, and now I train with yourself, with your partner, John, but when you and I started training together, how long was that now?
5 years, five plus, yeah.
5+ years. So next week, I'm breaking now my 600th session of personal training. And I look at that number and you start thinking about that 60, 90 minutes, depending on the session. Man, that is a lot of freaking hours.
Yeah.
And when I go to wrestling events, I go to other sports, and I'm watching people in their 20s and 30s, and man, I'm almost 50. I look at them like I look younger than them. That's, to me, that's a time in the gym. It's such a great, great feeling. And I think to myself, man, if the Lord had made me 6'4", 6'5", and I was 22 now, whoa, what I could be doing out there on the field, And it's amazing. People given those gifts, you get that height, you get, the natural build, and they're not making the use of it, And this is where you and I talk a lot about NXT, for example. We jump along among so many topics, but, it's the idea of that collegiate athlete that's going to be made into a wrestler versus the indie wrestler who's in it,
That's a whole different podcast.
And but that's to me when it comes down to it.
Yep.
I don't care what sport it is. Give me hard work over talent any day of the week.
Yep, absolutely. That's the best way to say it.
And when you and John had built up VSC, and now we're in 3.0, what did you envision a VSC client, a VSC athlete looking like? What was the person that was the target for, and where are we today with VSC? Like, who are the people that are registering? Like, who is VSC?
I would say when we first started, we were competitive CrossFit athletes, competitive Olympic weightlifters, competitive powerlifters. So we built a gym and a community to reflect training people to compete, training people to be elite, training people to be extremely athletic and win whatever it's competitions or meets or whatever. We've since kind of graduated or changed into a gym that's basically for everybody. So we take average people, everybody, tall, small, big, whatever, and we work with them and we make them achieve their goals through hard work and discipline. So that's our main business these days is working with everyday people who just want to be bigger, stronger, faster, more athletic, right? And we work with them and we get them where they need to go.
I've seen high school students, 18 years old. I've seen people 65 plus, and they're doing it, and they're putting the time into it.
Yeah.
And they're mobile, and they're flexible, and they're fit, and they feel good, and they look younger. And my most pleasurable time at the gym is not myself. It's watching those people that first start off and thinking, I can see in their eyes, they're like, oh, this is not for me. I'm never going to be good at this. Yeah. And they keep going. And 2 years later, the transformation. And it's like, wow.
Yeah, no, our membership is mainly, mothers, fathers, people from all walks of life. It's no longer elite athletics only, because to be honest, it's way more fun to be able to take that same strategy, that same knowledge, and apply it to people whose lives really benefit from having better balance, right? Having better agility, having better stamina, right? Those are real things that help everyday people in life. We still work with athletes as well, but our main goal is to make everyday people better. That's what we do.
And I've told people, it's one thing you go get a gym membership somewhere and you work on a few machines. You don't know what machines to use and what sequence and what
Yeah.
weight and what repetitions. And then they're like, okay, I'm gonna go do some group classes. What I tell people is if you're able to afford it and if it's when you wherewithal, even if you go do a few personal training sessions, it's so valuable as far as learning the technique for you, learning your body style and what's the right versus just doing it generically. And it's like you could actually do less work, more focused work, and get better results.
Yeah. I see it all the time. It's it's amazing what people who don't think they're capable of certain things, then watching them do those things and the looks on their faces when they're surprising something as simple as skipping, right? You hand someone a rope and I haven't skipped since I was a kid, right? A couple cues, a couple drills, and now they're doing 50 in a row, 100 in a row. And the look on the face is like when they were a kid doing those skips, right? It's unreal to watch grown adults do things for the first time ever or in 20 years, 30 years. It's cool. And then they'll immediately say, I never thought I could do this again, right? And that's what we live for, right? Giving people quality life, right? You could 30, 40, 50, those are the ages where you can look 20 years older or 20 years younger than you are, right? I mean, I'm 35. I go in the locker room. There's guys a lot younger than me that look a lot worse than me, right? Like age, physical, everything, right? You got to start taking care of yourself. Otherwise, you age worse, your body reacts worse, your recovery is worse, and your performance is worse. So you tell me why most of the top WWE wrestlers are 35 plus, right?
Because to me, that's the age when you get it.
Yeah.
And you're in the right point in life, and also your body's in the right place, and your mind's in the right place, and it's the perfect balance. Like that's like the baseball player at 27 is the equivalent of peak to 35.
Right.
In
like
wrestling.
you look at a guy like Finn Balor, right? He's shredded, jacked, right? Like youthful looking. He's 42, 41, 42, right? Like Damian Priest, 42. These guys are taking extreme care of themselves, eating, sleeping, recovering, training. That's it. I follow Chad Gable.
Yeah.
He has a whole gym, the Shack in his garage. Mm-hmm. The guy trains like an animal, right? And then he walks out and you're like, he looks like an animal. And he's 37, 38, performs like an animal, right? Like these guys are doing things that 20-year-olds can't do because they've maintained a strong physical body.
One of the greatest things you taught me in training, and when you're watching WWE and you're watching the behind the scenes, one of the things you'll always notice is before the matches, they're always stretching. And okay, so confession time. I've never told you this story. This is the first time I'm telling you this. So you and I, besides training together, we also were boxing together at one point, right? You were doing boxing like
yes.
many, many moons ago. And one of the things was I always was watching you when you're preparing and you were always stretching. And to me, in my mind, I was like, you know what? I do yoga and I went to yoga yesterday, so I'm okay. I don't need to stretch. Bro, I was skipping and I tore my calf skipping. Why? Because I hadn't stretched before. So silly. I could have put in 15, 20 minutes, had a good stretch session like I do for weightlifting. I'd done the same thing. I would not have torn my calf from skipping. You and I talked about in wrestling. How many guys go out there and tumble around and didn't stretch before? To me now, that's obscene.
Well, I'll just say that I get chirped for my warm-up in the ring. People laugh at me. I had, I think, one guy who's the father of one of the wrestlers pull me aside and say, that warm-up you did was unreal. Like, I wish I could do stuff like that. The way you move your legs behind your head, your back rolls, your 90-90s, your ankle rotation. Because I've never seen that before. Who taught you that? Like, this is what I do every day. I train my clients. We do this every day. I don't do a workout without doing what you just watched. I won't, right? Whether it's the physical of warming my body up or the mental of taking me from my car to where I have to be, which is intense, that's my time to get there, right? When you're going and getting a sub or shooting the shit or eating a pizza or ripping your vape or whatever you're doing, it's not getting your body and mind ready for battle.
So
Enough said.
I gotta ask you, man. So on that note, as we wrap today's episode, we gotta bring you back for future weeks because you've been so
I got a
missed,
lot to say, man.
and we got so much wrestling talk. So I gotta ask you, as a little bit of a teaser, as we're finishing up today, Mason Rush, what's the plan for 2025? Where's the future lying?
Well, we're going to, first of all, we have to take down Careless Dynasty. That's the first and foremost. So HPW events, which kind of what I focus on. Those are my favorite events to do, to be a part of, to show up to. So that's the first order of business, is take down the Careless Dynasty. And then we'll see where we go from there. I'm going to spend the winter training, getting better, so that come spring and summer next year, we're back killing it again. But for me, I wouldn't want to say less is more, but training is more, right? So again, driving 4 hours to do a 6-minute match to drive home is not as good of an investment to me as driving to Hamilton to train with the best of the best, learn from the best, take that and grow every single week. That, again, I could be wrong, but that's how I feel.
Love it. Love it. Well, we're going to talk more about wrestling and more Mason Rush, so stay tuned for the next couple of weeks. And he is Mason Rush, and you are welcome.
I forgot my cue. That's how long it's been. You're welcome.